Conspiracy Fact Daily, March 20th. I'll tell you what I want to get in today. I just want to talk about a man named George Soros. Now, I think I have an interesting take on this. What I really want to emphasize, a couple of things, but the one thing I really want to emphasize is that George Soros is really not somebody that we should be keeping an eye on. He is not that high up in the pyramid, in my opinion, and in my research. It seems like he's much more well known. He's almost a household name. I mean, people in my family know who this guy is. Thanks to goofballs like Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity, a lot of our Fox News typical audience who would vote for a Romney or a Santorum in a heartbeat over Ron Paul is quite familiar with the evils of George Soros. Now that right there, if you got a guy like Sean Hannity, I've been listening to this guy for quite a while. I mean, I listened to him like the first couple of weeks that he first came on the scene. I mean, of course now I think, he seems like a nice guy, but I mean, he's totally clueless. So chances are, if Sean Hannity is concerned about George Soros, we probably shouldn't be that concerned about George Soros. But let's take a look. And the reason I bring up George Soros is because he was in the news yesterday. George Soros was tied to the Al Jazeera network. Now, I think that's really interesting. I think irony and major contrast when it comes to character is always like a good sign that maybe there's something else to this person, or maybe there's something wrong here. I mean, as you know, Al Jazeera is kind of a sounding board and a trumpet for anti-Israel sentiment. And George Soros is a Hungarian Jew. So why would he fund a network that is quote-unquote anti-Semitic and anti-Israel? That doesn't make any sense. This is a common characteristic that I find with the puppet masters and the internationalists. They don't seem to have any allegiance except to their own selfish needs for power and whatever their concept of this new world order or utopia is for the world. Essentially, I think they're trying to save the world, and they feel it's their duty to save the world, and only if we follow their plan do we have a chance to exist. Of course, this is all ridiculous, and again, I can't stress enough that all these guys behind closed doors, they sit around and worship Lucifer and in darkness. And again, I mean, regardless of whether you are religious or you're a Christian, the fact is that they are concerned about that stuff. If you go to my blog, conspiracyfactdaily.blogspot.com, I've got an excerpt from an article on there. George Soros did an interview, I believe, on 60 Minutes in the 90s, and there's a really interesting exchange because this is fact, folks. George Soros, Hungarian Jew, helped the Nazis basically pillage the Jews. He pretended to be a Christian and helped remove people's property for the Nazis. And the interviewer asked him about this. I mean, how were you able to do this? What was going through your mind? And his response is this. Let me see if I can paraphrase it, because he doesn't speak great English, so it's really hard to read his dialogue. But he says, the interviewer asks him, so there was no feeling of guilt, when Soros is carting off all these Jews, their property, for the Nazis. He says, was there no guilt? And Soros says, no. Well, didn't you think, well, here I am, I'm Jewish, and I'm watching these people go. I could just as easily be there. Should I be there? I mean, none of that. He's trying to see if Soros has any empathy or any like concept of morality in the situation. And he says, well, I could be on the other side, or I could be the one from whom the thing is being taken away, but there was no sense that I shouldn't be there because there I was. Well, actually, in a funny way, it's like in the markets, that if I weren't there, markets as far as what he does now, of course, I wasn't doing it, but somebody else would be taking it anyhow. So it's like, whether I was there or not, I was only a spectator. The property was being taken away. It wasn't my decision to take the property away. So I had no role in taking away that property, so I had no sense of guilt. If you've ever done any research or watched a movie about sociopaths, that is it in a nutshell.